Setting up a site in AQS for the first time. First of all, before you do anything, go to Action and then turn tribal mode on, because once you do that, then the tribal codes will appear. Then you go to Maintenance, then surprise, surprise, Site. And when one of these forms opens up, keep in mind that the way these forms open is in query mode, which means that what they're expecting you to do is type in something and then click Execute Query, and then it will give you all the records that correspond with what information you've typed into the form. Well, we're not going to be in query mode. We want to be in input mode. So what we have to do whenever we want to enter anything into AQS is cancel query. So you click this button that has an X in it for cancel query, and then that puts us in input mode. If you have not gone to Action and then tribal mode on, you won't see tribal code here. So go ahead and click Action and then tribal mode on, and that will enable the tribal codes fields opening up. First thing to keep in mind is there's a lot of information in here that doesn't make much sense unless you've worked in this area for a long time, and a lot of these things have specific definitions that you're just going to have to look up. So the first thing you want to do is print a blank copy of this so that you can do like this and fill in information, but keep the screen open because you need to know the definitions of horizontal datum to even know where to look it up. So we're going to enter the information that we know, which is our tribal code, which you can either click this button here and search for it or just type it in. I'm going to click that button and then Colville and then find, and then it finds the tribal code 101. I click OK, and that fills that in, and you can see that the gray fields get automatically filled in. Most of the bold labeled fields, such as state code, are mandatory, with a few exceptions. We don't have the state code for Washington memorized, so we're going to click that button to the right of the field, and that opens up a pick list, and I'm going to click Find for Wash, and it finds Washington State, and then county code I know is Okanogan. I'm going to search through this whole list to find my county for this site and click OK. Now the site ID is something that you select with your EPA regional AQS person because they may have a system for site IDs. There may be old site IDs for your tribe, and you want to make sure that you consult with them. Leave the status indicator blank for now, because once you establish a site, it's still not going to be producing data until you establish a monitor. And at that point, when you establish a monitor, the status indicator will get filled in with a P, but until then, AQS will fill it in with the code of F. Now, until you've established a monitor at this site, no one else can see this site information. Once you establish a site and a monitor at that site, then the status indicator will change to a P, and other users of AQS can find information about this site. And you can see that at this point, AQS has filled in that status indicator box with an F. So it is not producing yet because it doesn't have a monitor at it. So horizontal datum, what's that? Click this button and it opens up a box with the choices. And if you've worked with TICE or ArcView, you are familiar with these different choices for how the location is selected. In most cases that I've worked with, the NAD 83 is the correct datum, which means the system of geographic coordinates. I'm going to click NAD 83 and I'm going to say OK. Now horizontal datum. What is that? Well, I look on how I find my latitude and longitude, and that tells me that it actually is, and I've looked this up, is WGS 84. And if you've worked with TICE or ArcView, you're familiar with these different systems for setting up latitude and longitude. So we'll say OK there, and at this point you type in the latitude and longitude for your site. Once you've entered up till this point the latitude and longitude, click Look Up Geography, because you can see that then it fills in these standard coordinates with the NAD 83 latitude and longitude for you. Now it's asking you for horizontal method. Click on the box to the right of the field, and that will open up your options, which include unknown, meaning you're just guessed at the latitude and longitude, or GPS, which is what I did when I went out there and stood on it with my GPS thing, or my phone. So I'm going to click GPS. You could also click interpolation if you look at, for example, Google Earth or Maps, and you click and you find the latitude and longitude that way. But I stood there with my phone and got the latitude and longitude, so I'm going to leave GPS and click OK. Then it fills in the gray box. Horizontal accuracy. So how close to the truth do you think my phone is getting? I'm going to put in 10 for 10 meters because I don't think my phone is very accurate. Then the vertical measure, that's the distance above sea level it is. So I have to have some sort of device to tell me the altitude above sea level. You should probably use the same GPS device that you use to find latitude and longitude, or your phone if you have an elevation app on your phone, or you can Google the location and see what description there is in Wikipedia if that is close enough to your actual site. So I see from Wikipedia that the elevation is 561 meters, so I'm going to enter that into the AQS form. And now it's asking me plus or minus how many meters do I think that is. Well, again, I'm not really sure, but I'm going to say plus or minus 10 meters. And then vertical datum, what does that mean? I click on the button to the right of the field, and that, hallelujah, gives me only a few choices. I'm going to say mean sea level. So this is the elevation above the mean sea level, which is okay. Click OK. That fills in. Now the vertical method, I'm not sure what that means, so I'm going to click the box again. And now I see that there's a lot of different selections involving GPSs, leveling bench, trigonomic leveling, topographic map interpolation. I actually did get the location from looking at a topo map, but I verified it with my GPS. So I'm just going to click the first GPS, click OK for vertical method, and then it fills in that gray. Now I can fill in something that I know, the street address. Land use type, what are our choices here? Click the box, residential. Yes. Location setting, what are the choices? Ah, good, definitely rural. Okay. The zip code is filled in from the address, and including the town, Nespelem community. But notice, urban area code, notice that it is not in bold. So that's optional. I'm going to skip that. This next entry in bold, AQCR code. What are my choices? By clicking the box, I see, there's only one, Northern Washington. That's correct. Click OK. And then another thing I can fill in, because I understand it, the year and month and date this was established. And don't do the date in the way you want to do the date. Instead, look at the format they want it in, which is the year first, and then the month, and then the day. And then the time zone name, Pacific. Okay. Now, the owning agency is me, and I'm going to fill in my tribal code. At this point, I can click Check Completeness, but before I do that, I am going to print screen because I don't want to go through all this again in case somehow my computer crashes or AQS kicks me out. So I'm going to go to this Print Screen button, and I'm going to print this off on my printer right now so that I have a copy of this. Then I'm going to click this Check Completeness button. Wow! It comes up with no field level errors, but it does have relational errors, and it says we need to add a supporting agency record, and to enter a new site record, you must enter at least one monitor record. So we'll attack these one at a time. Supporting agency role record. Okay, we can do that. Click Exit, because now what we've seen is we have new tabs up here. I click the Agency Roles tab, and you can see that there's no role for my agency here. So I click this box. I'm definitely supporting. Agency code, I'm going to type in Colville. Find. Okay. And I can't go on until I type in the dates. So the dates have to be begin, and I'm going to leave end date blank and see if it lets me go on. At that point, you could go back to basic site data, check completeness, and if it doesn't give you any more errors, congratulations, you've established a site in AQS.